Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Max and JuanCast. My name is indeed Juan, with my co-host right here. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my brother.
Shockingly, my name is Max. I don't know if you guys got the hint, but
Just a
I'm
little
excited to
bit.
be here.
Just a little bit.
Excited to be here. Being the first podcast, we wanted to give you guys some background information on us. I'm an Eagles and Lakers fan. I do enjoy all sports, but my favorite two sports are basketball and football. Juan, what about you?
My two favorite teams are the Raiders and, just like Max, the Lakers. Shout out to Raider Nation out there.
Yeah, Juan just got his Raider fan card this year.
Stop.
Shockingly.
Stop.
One of those guys.
That is completely false.
So I want to ask Juan, who are your 5 favorite athletes? And they can be anybody, past, present. Just who do you like?
Well, number one, first and foremost, Kobe Bryant, no doubt. I watched Kobe growing up. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Definitely Kobe. Number two,
Still don't believe it.
right, man. Number two will be Ray Lewis. He is indeed probably my favorite defensive player, arguably NFL player of all time. Number three, the reason why I started watching football, believe it or not, is Peyton Manning. And just to tell you the fandom, the fan love that I have for this guy, I'm a diehard Raider fan. And the year that they went to the Super Bowl against the Panthers, I was low-key rooting for the Broncos, man. And it hurt me. But that's how much I love Peyton Manning growing up. I more love them as a Colt. I love those Colts teams. My third will be Brett Favre. I love the way Brett Favre played the game. You know, gunslinger mentality. Had fun out there. Looked like he was a little kid playing ball in the backyard. I used to love it. I love Brett Favre, man.
Was it close between Peyton and Favre, or was it pretty
No,
obvious?
it was
Peyton
obvious
too?
Peyton. It was obvious. And I'm kind of torn with 5. I love LeBron, man. Just as an athlete in general. He fits all the boxes. The guy's almost fucking perfect. What is there to complain about him besides that he switches teams? The other guy that I was split between was probably Charles Woodson. It was hard rooting for Charles Woodson when he was on the Packers, but probably that's the most recent guy besides LeBron on my list. Because, Charles Woodson at an old age played safety for the Raiders. But surprisingly, only one Raider on there. A lot of them are non-Raiders. But those are my 5.
I've honestly,
Kind of like 5.5, 6. I couldn't really pick that last guy. It was between LeBron and Charles Woodson. Especially that LeBron won a championship.
I honestly thought your whole list was going to be Raiders, so I'm
Really?
pleasantly surprised by the variety of it. Yeah, come on. Your gamer tag has a Raider in it. So
All right,
come on.
go ahead and shoot yours.
I just used active players for mine. I don't know why. At the time, I was just thinking just active guys. And number 1 for me was, L.A. Braun. Now that he won a championship, we can call him that. Number 2, surprisingly, is Roger Federer. He's a tennis player, and I've never played tennis as a kid. I suck at it. I hit the ball like a mile every time. I can't even hit it on the court. But I remember was waking up one morning and I was watching tennis, and I was like, man, this is so cool. I can't fathom how these guys do that, My third would be Anthony Davis. He was my favorite NBA player for a long time other than LeBron. LeBron's such like an institution. You have to be like, oh, that's my new favorite player because everyone says LeBron, right?
Definitely.
Fletcher Cox would be my 4th. He's an Eagle. He's just like a stalwart of the Eagles. I watched him when he was a rookie. We won a championship, the first one. That was great. And my last guy was KD. I know he took a lot of heat for being soft or a cupcake, but I've always loved KD. He's a killer on the court. You can talk about the burner accounts and stuff, but KD's my guy. He's the best scorer in NBA history in my estimation. So those are my 5. I know they're pretty modern, but I kind of went a different route than Juan.
Hey, I like it. Besides KD, I can't hate you for that. To be honest, if you're a pure basketball lover and putting everything aside as far as all the antics and all the side shit, what's not there to love about a 7-foot guy that can shoot, dribble, pass, dunk? He's the whole package, bro. It's crazy.
This isn't even a topic we're going to go into, but I just thought about it. Do you think the NBA has more like a sideshow than the NFL?
Half of their news is off Twitter, so that just goes to show you like how much of a sideshow they are.
And I also feel like the NFL, the sideshow's a little like worse. It's always just like guys getting arrested for doing dumb crap. In the NBA, it's always about like people doing dumb stuff on Twitter. That's not really like bad, you know?
Definitely. Well, let's switch to a sport that doesn't really have the side antics, and I just want to get right into it of a great weekend of football, starting with my Raiders with the heartbreaking loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, which all props to them. I just want to say this before we even start talking about it. The Kansas City Chiefs are indeed the best football team in the NFL. They are the best team. Even though Pittsburgh is 9-0 right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have the best quarterback. They probably have the best tight end in the league. Arguably, right now, got the best head coach. And that's just a hard combination to stop, man.
It's crazy to say that about Andy Reid, that people are considering him the best coach in football now. And for so many years, he's been like the butt of so many jokes about time management. He can't win the big game. And it's nice to see a guy who like he has all the pressure off him now, and now he's just flourishing even more than last year, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, it's kind of I kind of like what Chris Collinsworth said before this Super Bowl that he had, or really these last couple of years with Mahomes. It's like he was really looked at as a guy who was a great play caller, but didn't really get that Lombardi, Bill Belichick like status. You know what I mean? And now that he's won one, he's automatically with those guys. Because I mean, you can't knock him. I mean, he has all the things on the resume that you want from a coach. He has all the wins. He has all the road wins. He has the playoff wins, and now he finally has that Super Bowl win, with more coming probably. To be honest, with this quarterback that they have.
It's honestly funny to think about because there was times in Kansas City where people were calling for him to be gone. You know, with Alex Smith, they had so many postseason failures. They blew that huge lead to the Colts with Andrew Luck. And it's really nice to see the Colts like stick it out with a guy, you know? I feel like too many teams now, this is like getting a little bit off topic, but too many teams now, it's just they hire a guy for 1 year and it's like, what are you really going to do in 1 year? You have to try to build something, you know?
Yeah, especially now. I mean, now I feel like more than ever. I mean, quarterbacks now are only getting a year or two, probably not even that. I mean, look at a guy like Josh Rosen. I mean, he didn't even get that much time.
Or even Dwayne Haskins.
It's just tough out there, man. But speaking of quarterbacks who had a lot of time to prove himself and is still proving himself, how about Derek Carr?
So I'm looking at my notes, and this is what I had. I said, is DC the guy? And that's positive because there's been so much doubt about him. Now I'm like, this guy is the guy, right? What do you think as a Raider fan? I think he's the guy, honestly.
I've watched every single game of Carr's career, and by far, that was the best game of his career. By far. And he dueled it out with the best quarterback in the league. And he is the guy. He is the guy, man. Because every time that we've had put weapons around him, he's done his job. Like last night, he did his job. He did his job. It wasn't his fault.
I mean, I just want to make one thing clear. You look at the stats, that one pick had no impact on the game. That was just a chuck it up. They're trying to make a play when your team's against the wall, you know?
That doesn't even go. I mean, it's going to go on the stat sheet, but I mean, that just goes to show you how stats are very, very deceiving.
Yeah, and I just hate that about people are going to look at that and say, oh, he threw a pick. Well, if you don't know the context of the interception, there's not even a point to talk about it, you know? That had no bearing on how the game came out.
And this is the first time that I've seen him, not first time, but these last couple games, what I have been seeing out of him that's been really, really good to see is when he has pressure on him, he's throwing, I like to call them like off script throws. Like those throws where a guy's draped all over you, or you just made a guy miss and another guy's in your face. You got to throw the ball off your back foot, or you got to throw it sidearm. You're trying to run for your life, and you just throw these absolute dimes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is probably the best example of it. But Carr has been looking really good with it, man, because in years past, there's been times where he's just awkward. And like I tell people, it's not that Carr is he's an athletic guy. Like, he ran a good 40, he has a good vert. I don't understand why he's not more of a natural runner. But this year he's really showing it, man. This year he's knowing when to run with the ball. He's learning how to move in the pocket. He's not looking so awkward, you know? He's not awkward in the pocket. I don't feel nervous when a guy's draped all over him right now.
And that hasn't been the case for a lot of years, I would say. I've watched a good amount of Raider games, and usually he just curls up in a little ball. Since he broke his leg, it's really nice to see the aggressiveness. And just to build off what you were saying with the off-script throws, he had one to Waller. He stepped up in the pocket, guy all over him. He, flicked it to him over the linebacker, and Darren Waller picks up a crucial first down. I mean, every first down against the Chiefs is crucial. You got to just try to keep up with them. And like you were saying about Carr, the off-the-script stuff is so good right now. That's just building off what he does good normally. So now instead of being like a 5 quarterback, he's being like an 8.
He was hitting everyone. I mean, besides, he was hitting everyone, including our fullback, who, I don't know, man. I don't know if he ate too much popcorn or what, but my man's had Butterfingers last night. And I counted 3 throws myself. I counted one to Nelson Aguilar that he should have caught. My man just went back to his Philly days. But
Stop.
But Nelson Aguilar dropped one, and then Alec Ingold dropped about 2 first downs. One of them, it could have been more. It could have been a big gain. But I mean, besides that, I mean, it was hard for Carr to miss, man. He was in the zone. And to be honest, I think our offense was too much in the zone, because as the Raiders were driving, I wasn't so scared that we weren't going to score. I had so much faith that we're going to score, but I was just looking at the clock. I was like, man, we've been scoring within 5 to 3 minutes of drive. We're going to leave way too much time for this guy. And that's what
Honestly,
exactly happened. We scored too fast.
Honestly, I thought you guys did a great job, and I was like, man, they're killing a lot of time. And then I looked at the clock, and I was like, it's not a lot of time, but damn. And this is what I want to ask you this question. Are we at that point with Patrick Mahomes where we just expect magic? Like, we expect he's going to go out there and win the game like we do Russell Wilson and Tom Brady? Are we at that point right now?
Yeah, it's no doubt. I mean, I'm scared with 35 seconds on the clock. He's the best to do it right now.
So I really quickly want to ask you a question. If Patrick Mahomes right now, QB trusts in him is what, 100% you would say?
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think? So what do you think Derek Carr's is right now? I would say 70%.
I mean, I would put a little bit more, because I just feel like Carr has always been clutch. I've never felt like Carr has ever backed down to that. Even with bad teams, I've always felt like he's been clutch. I will put it at about an 85 to an 80.
I was saying more like going into the season, going into next season, going into the future with the team trust, not just single game, late game situations. Is that still the same number for you then?
I don't think there's no doubt. He has to be our quarterback. I mean, just when you break down, I was looking at his salary for the next 2 years. And if he keeps on playing like this, it's going to be money in the bag. Like, he's only getting paid about 18 to 19 million, you know, and other guys in the league like Jared Goff who are not really playing up to their potential. And you have this guy in Carr who's playing like a top 10 quarterback, and you're not even paying him top dollar. That's hard to come by unless you draft a rookie in the first round.
His contract definitely became a bargain. And it's funny to think about, just a few seasons ago, or maybe last season, people were talking about it like he might get cut. The contract is an albatross, and like you can't get rid of it. But now the opposite's true. So I think it is a bargain. And this is something I just had written down. Would you say a good tagline for this game was Raiders drop the ball? Literally?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. I mean, it came down. it came down to our defense, man, but I didn't. Did you think the defense played as bad as the numbers look?
Considering that they were sitting out the whole week due to COVID, I would say they played pretty damn well. I feel bad for Abram because I think he's a hell of a player, and he made one bonehead mistake. That unnecessary roughness, that's just his aggressiveness. I think he's going to learn to like take it back just a hair because I think he kind of needs to, you know. Sometimes he's a bit too reckless. And the last play, he's a rookie. He has to learn. He's not a rookie, but he didn't play at all his rookie year. He played one game. He's going to learn that, and that's Patrick Mahomes making magic, man. He steps up. Patrick Mahomes was baiting him the whole time.
As far as Abram, I mean, he's still a great player, man. I mean, like you said, man, he's a rookie. Until he plays at least a full season, he's a rookie, and he has a lot of learning to do. But I'm learning. We have a young defense, man, and I'm loving the guys who are making plays out there. I mean, to be honest, one guy that I thought that really showed up tonight that we're missing, and he gets a lot of flack, is, to be honest, Clelin Ferrell. I think that loss was really big, man. It was really, really big because the guy doesn't get sacks, but he stops the run, and that's huge for us. And I just felt like there was a lot of plays in that game where they're getting 4-yard, 5-yard gains just because our guys couldn't tackle. I mean, I love Max Crosby, but in the first half, he missed a lot of tackles that could have been no gains or even negative plays. And I just feel like Clelin Ferrell makes those plays. And besides Jonathan Hankins, I mean, he's our best run defender by far.
I definitely think he gets pressures, and pressures are valuable. I know he missed a lot of tackles, right? But I thought he did a hell of a job of actually getting pressure. He was being disruptive. I saw him a lot of plays whoop Eric Fisher's butt.
You're talking about Max Crosby, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Max Crosby.
I mean, Max played well, man. Max is good. Max is a good player. He sniffed out a reverse that the Chiefs ran. He had a couple of pressures. He had big tackles for losses. I mean, he was doing his job out there, man. But I just feel like with Clelin Ferrell on the other side, it's big for us, man. And I mean, not a lot of people are going to talk about it. I mean, guys are going to look at the stats and say, oh, this guy has 0 sacks. He must not be that good. I mean, if you want to look at it like that, that's fine. But the guy's out there causing pressure. He's making plays in the run game. He makes an impact. And sometimes especially that position, I mean, sacks aren't everything. You will love it for him to get sacks, but he's an impact player, and he's better than anyone that we had last night. Because we had guys like Chris Smith, we had David Irving playing right there. I mean, I love Arden Key, but Arden Key's not good against the run. I mean, a lot of the guys that were on the defensive line last night, they're one-trick ponies. You know, they can only do one thing.
For a team like you guys that struggles getting pass rush, you don't want to have one of your starters out, you know? And just to finish up about Max Crosby, I think he had a good game, but what makes you kind of mad is like he could have had a great game, right? And he really could have had a great game.
They're still in the playoff picture. I still feel like they're going to make the playoffs. The Chiefs are a great team. The Chiefs gave us props. And it was a great game, man. I love to see it. It was a great game to watch. Great game to watch. I'm glad it was on Sunday night. I'm glad that the Raiders put up a fight and didn't get blown out. I mean, all props to the Chiefs. They're a great team, man.
My final thoughts are about this game. It would have been really nice for the Raiders to be 7-3. You know, 7-3 just looks a whole lot better than 6-4. But I think this proves the Raiders are for real. They're not a bad team. They're a good team. They've hung with the best team in football. I agree with you on that point. I don't care the Steelers' record. They've hung with them and beat them one out of the times, and they could have beat them twice tonight.
The next team that we're going to talk about with the Indianapolis Colts, who pulled off a great win at home against Aaron Rodgers and company.
So really quick, before we get really into the game, first, it was pretty sloppy in the beginning, right? There was fumbles. There was a crappy interception by Aaron Rodgers, who I think he's still playing really good at a high level. But here's my question to you about the Packers. Are they just like the best first half team in football? Where they're just like so ready in the first half and then they just plutter out?
It does help that they're not down once the game starts because they love getting their run game going. Whether people want to admit it or not, I mean, the Packers are a run-first team. I think that's obvious because I mean they want to get the run game going with Aaron Jones, and they got it going. They got the pass game going with Valdez-Scantling and Devontae Adams, and they started putting up points, and especially their defense. I mean, their defense is pretty decent.
I feel like their defense, I like them a lot more than like how they play, right? Like I like them, like I'm like, damn, that's a really good defense, but then they get out there and they don't play that great. I like the corners, I love the safeties. The D line's pretty good. I feel like they're just missing something. I don't know if that's scheme or that's just personnel. They don't have a lot of like size on their team, which kind of scares me because last year I've never seen a team get run down like the 49ers ran down their throat. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad in years past. I mean, I want to say they have the recipe to have an elite defense. I mean, they arguably got a top 3 corner in the league in Alexander.
Definitely would say top 5. Top 3 might be a little close, but he's in that discussion.
You got top 10 right. Defensive tackle in Kenny Clark?
Absolutely, and maybe a top 10 edge rusher in Zaire. The top 10 edge rusher in Zadarius Smith.
And they got the other guy on the other end. They got Preston Smith. So I mean, they have all the tools to be an elite defense. I don't know what it is. At the end of the day, they still rely on Aaron Rodgers, and it was funny when the Colts came all the way back and the Packers were down by 3. They were going down the field. I think they started on the 8-yard line. And I seen that little thing on the TV with the AWS from Amazon or whatever, and they have, how they have like the win probability that pops up.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And those things have just been those have been some tough looks for my guys, the Amazon win percentages lately.
I mean, the thing said 16%. And in my mind, I'm like, does this thing know that Aaron Rodgers is playing quarterback? I mean, the guy made a beautiful throw right down the middle of the field. I mean, he just literally rainbows it right to Scantling. They're right back in it. They're driving downfield. But to be honest, I felt like they had Indianapolis on the ropes. Don't you think? I mean, they spiked the ball to save time, but I feel like they were just wasting a down. I felt like they should have just kept on running plays.
I agree with you 100%. And this is like the Packers in a nutshell, right? They did nothing on offense for the whole second half. They didn't do anything.
Basically.
And as soon as they get down by 3 and the chips are against them and they need to score, they go right down the field, man. It's like, what are you guys doing? I don't understand. But I agree with you 100%. And I think if they didn't turn the ball over in overtime, they were probably going to win that game. And that was just a tough way to lose a game, man.
It's tough. It's really tough because they needed that game. I would think that home field is important to the Packers, don't you think? I mean, even with COVID, with no fans, I mean, you still want to be playing in Lambeau rather than the New Orleans or somewhere else, just for travel purposes.
I would agree with that, but low-key, man, maybe it's nice to play in a dome in December or January so it's not snowing, I don't know. I'd rather play in a dome than freeze my butt off in Lambeau Field. That's just me. I'm from the city.
City boy. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I'm from the city, too. Looking on the other side, I mean, how big was this win for the Colts on the other side of this?
It was a huge win, man. And Phillip Rivers, he did his thing. I don't know if I trust him completely. I really quickly want to ask you, what's the trust percentage on Phillip Rivers? For me, it's like
I don't trust him
0.
at all.
I was gonna go with 50.
I don't trust him at all.
I was gonna go with 50.
I do not trust him.
That's a tough look for my guy Phillip right there, man.
I don't trust him one bit. I just really don't. I mean, they almost threw that game. Not to even talk about with bad clock management down the stretch of the game. I mean, they had an incomplete pass. I want to say they had a holding call that brought him all the way back to kick him out of field goal range. He's a veteran quarterback. He knows what to do. They should just be a lot better in that situation.
Come on, this isn't your first rodeo, Exactly what you said. You should know better than that. You're not some rookie coming out of Oregon, coming out of Texas, wherever it is. You should know this,
Exactly. It's a great win for them. I mean, they move on to what? I think they're 7-3.
Yeah, they're 7-3 right now. And do you think they're legit contenders?
Definitely, man. Their defense is elite. I mean, their defense has massively improved, especially with the addition of DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, their defense doesn't get the love it gets. The only thing it's really missing is like that lockdown corner, right? But I love their defense. Darius Leonard had a bone to pick with Aaron Rodgers. I saw earlier in the week. He said, "I saw Aaron Rodgers said Fred Warner's the best linebacker in football." He's like, hopefully he'll change his mind after. And Darius Leonard is a monster. DeForest Buckner, same thing. I love the Colts, man.
Yeah,
they're tough.
They're a tough out, man. I mean, they're gonna be something to deal with in the AFC. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is improving every week, even though he's had some fumbling issues and, you know, all that, but they still have a great running back room regardless. I mean, they still got Naheem Hines, they got Jonathan Taylor. They're going to be all right. The one guy that's been MIA for them that still hasn't made I can't remember the last time he's made a big play is T.Y. Hilton.
It's been shocking how bad he's been. I think part of it's injury, but this is like the T.Y. Hilton experience lately. You know, he gets hurt, banged up, he tries to play through it, he kind of doesn't produce. And if they could find a way to get him healthy and get him going with Michael Pittman and Zach Pascal, I really like their receivers at that point. You know, he's kind of what they're missing. And they still got Paris Campbell,
definitely,
too, who I haven't really seen from.
I love myself some Michael Pittman. I liked him coming out of the draft, but they're gonna be a problem. It was a big win for them. With the other team in their division who they're gonna be playing next week, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans and how.
No. Let's talk about these transitions because they're on fire today, man. I was shocked by this. No offense.
Is it more shocked than seeing Derrick Henry run all over the Ravens defense?
Absolutely not. Only thing I miss is watching Earl Thomas get turned around twice in a play.
Nah, he's too busy. He's too busy stiff arming any like Sean Elliott or Chuck Clark out there.
Yeah, honestly, this was a bad matchup for the Ravens considering Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell didn't play. Kind of could have used those two guys. Overall, this game for me just reaffirmed that Tennessee is a good team, man. I don't want to say the Ravens are a bad team, but they're kind of sputtering right now, and they kind of need to figure it out. What do you think?
One name, Lamar Jackson. I know that's your boy, but he's a problem right now. He's a problem right now.
No.
He's a problem.
No. Don't even start. Stop it.
He cannot play from behind. He just can't. He cannot play from behind. Anytime where he has to make some throws to get back in the game, he struggles.
I mean, they were behind. I still agree. I agree with that fact that playing from behind, they still got to prove it to me they can play from behind. But overall, I wouldn't say this loss is on Lamar. I think this loss is just on the whole team collectively. The defense didn't play great. And honestly, the offense of Baltimore is just a mess. They haven't really changed much from last year. And I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do because you're not an idiot. People in the NFL figure stuff out pretty quick. The Chip Kelly offense didn't make it more than like 1 year, and it got shut down.
Greg Roman fits him so well, but something that I was remembering during that game, people figured out Kaepernick, and Greg Roman was the offense coordinator for the 49ers back in their heyday. And Colin Kaepernick only read one half of the field. And people figured it out. He was electric to start out. Not a lot of people had film on him, but as he progressed, he got worse. And people started to pick up on his tendencies. People started to put more spies up. People started to roll their coverages into certain spots on the field, into certain receivers, and it exposed him. And I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be that bad down to Colin Kaepernick's, level of play. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it's really something to look at because he's showing some signs where it's not looking too good. His throws are inaccurate. I feel like he's kind of relying on his legs more. And, I mean, credit to him. They don't have no receivers. I'll give you that. I mean, Willie Snead's not cutting it. Marquise Brown is, I mean, I like Marquise Brown, but he's not a number one guy. I mean, they just don't have a number one guy. I mean, who they have? Mark Andrews? I mean, Mark Andrews is a solid tight end. He's maybe top 5.
Throw up the X. Dez is back. He's the number one. If you're relying on Dez Bryant at this point, that's pretty bad. I was going to say, honestly, the same thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But the same complaints I remember hearing from San Francisco fans about Greg Roman, the pass game. Well, now those concerns are in Baltimore. And I'm not saying it's all on Greg Roman. I would say it's probably there's blame on both parties. Lamar, the Ravens front office for not getting him no weapons on the outside. And Greg Roman, I think they really need to revamp the pass game. Like you said, teams know where they're going to throw the ball. How many times can you hit Mark Andrews on a drag or a curl over the middle? If they don't throw the ball outside the numbers, it's too easy to stop. Great offenses, you need to defend every spot. One, you're a Raider fan. You're afraid of Patrick Mahomes wherever he throws the ball. No one's afraid of Baltimore if they throw the ball outside the numbers. It just puts them in a bind, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean they have their good moments. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible. They were up at one point in this game. It looked like Tennessee was, you know what, they don't got it this year, But Tennessee's just one of those teams you cannot let them linger. They're like roaches. They keep on fighting. They stay alive, bro.
What
they
a compliment. They're tough, man. Honestly. So do you consider Tennessee a legit contender?
Definitely. I just want to say this: Ryan Tannehill is a very good quarterback. Top 10. He is playing phenomenal. Very good. I like myself some Ryan Tannehill.
And I don't think it's the easiest to play quarterback on the Titans too, because sometimes they're so reliant on the run game. He doesn't throw the ball all that much sometimes,
Yeah, but he makes some.
But
throws,
he also
man. Like he like on the other side, Tennessee has some solid receivers. Like AJ Brown is the dog for the Tennessee Titans. He's great. Corey Davis isn't a slouch. I mean, Corey Davis, he probably got overdrafted, but he's still solid, He's still a really good guy to have.
I'd say he's a good number 2.
Exactly. He fits the number 2.
I like Jonnu Smith, too. He's explosive for a tight end. He's like young Delaney, but even faster, Does a little bit of everything.
And then they got the best running back in the league. So
Lamar Jackson plays on Tennessee? I'm sorry. Lamar's my boy. He's a quarterback. I'm just making a joke because everyone says he's a running back.
But, Derrick Henry demolished them. He crushed their hearts.
What's your nickname for Derrick Henry that you've had before anyone else?
I'm trademarking that. I'm the first one to call Derrick Henry Smoke Henry. And if this podcast ever gets big, I want all the credit. Because I think Smoke Henry is a great name. Because he's a pain to tackle. I seen him cleat a dude. I seen him cleat Patrick Queen right in the face because he's just diving at his feet, trying all of his strength to take down this guy. It's crazy, man. He's 6'3", 230 plus pounds. The dude runs like a freaking gazelle. He's unstoppable, man. And the way that they finished that game, it's in great fashion. Like, there's no other way to end it. They literally snatched Baltimore's heart.
You don't see Baltimore get out-physicaled a lot, man. Tennessee whooped their butts at the end of the game. Derrick Henry, 250 pounds plus, I might add.
You're probably right.
And, and also, you were calling him that before even NFL stuff. This was the draft process. You were calling him Smoke Henry. And I remember hearing when he got to Alabama, some of the coaches were making fun of him saying, when's he going to get that number 90? Because they thought he was going to play D-line with his big butt,
Yeah, he's a handful, man. Tennessee has a big week this week. They're going to play the Colts. I'm going to definitely watching that game. Two great teams. Let's see what the AFC South comes down to.
Have they played this year?
Yeah, they played on Thursday night. The Colts actually won. Mike Vrabel, is he a good coach?
Yeah, I think he's a good coach. And I don't think he's great on offense or he's spectacular on defense. I just think he just motivates people, He puts people in good positions. He empowers players, and that's important. You don't always have to be the best schemer, Phil Jackson didn't always have the best schemes. He was the best motivating player.
Definitely.
And that matters.
You can tell the guys play hard for him. I just want to bring up one more thing because I know we're going to get into some NBA talk right now. But tell me that you saw that Joe Burrow play where he tore his knee.
That was so bad. I'm thinking about it. Guy came from the blind side. Was it Chase Young?
I'm not sure who hit him? It was. I just know his knee. I saw this video on Instagram. I think I sent it to you. But, I mean, his knee literally popped out and it popped back in. I mean, it was nasty.
It was so bad. It didn't even just look like a torn ACL. It looked like you said, it looked like the knee almost broke. It bent like a break, you know, like Alex Smith's, like it snapped. It looked like it snapped almost. And as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, that's bad, you know. And it's such a bad thing for the Bengals. You know, I know they're the Bengals and no one expects anything out of them, but that's just so bad. It's sad because he's a monster too, man. He was having such a good rookie year. Him and Herbert have really been tearing the league up, and it was Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I think, that hit him.
Joe Burrow, I mean, get healthy, man. I mean, I hope he comes back soon. It's going to be a while. The Bengals suck. I mean, their offensive line sucks. Get that man some help.
Honestly, I hope he comes back healthy because, you know, his game isn't just about sitting back there. I know he's white, he's not that athletic, but, man, he makes people miss. He fights to keep plays alive, and that's what I loved about him, you know? I've seen so many times where he makes two guys miss and throws a laser at T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd, you know? And they were talking about there's some structural damage, and I remember that happened to a guy named Marcus Lattimore. He was going to be like a really high pick. He was a great running back, and he blew out his knee, and there was structural damage, and it just was never the same. I don't know if that's the case with Joe Burrow. I'm not a doctor, but you know, I just hope best case scenario, you know?
Yeah, same here, man. Praise up for Joe Burrow.
Straight up, man, honestly. Thanks a lot. Thanks again, football team.
Yeah, messed up your name. You messed up Joe Burrow with your bad ownership.
Bad culture, bad everything.
Field.
Bad mascot.
One more thing. It's that field is cursed. Did you see how many quarterbacks got hurt on that? Kyle Allen got hurt. Alex Smith, Joe Burrow. I'm forgetting another one, but that field is just.
Maybe we should go up there and you can try to snap my leg. No, that's really sad, though. I'm not even trying to make a joke out of it. Like, geez, you know, it's just. And the Burrow hit, it wasn't a dirty hit. It was just a weird angle. Guy jumped at him.
It's just guys piling up.
Hitting him low.
It's just guys piling up, man. It's football. I mean, it sucks.
You know what could have helped? Maybe you draft like a good line or something for your rookie quarterback. I don't know. I've never ran a football team, but I just think that'd be important, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it sucks talking about sad news, so hopefully we're going to transition to something a little more happier, especially for us Laker fans these days. We're going to talk about some NBA free agency, and we're just going to talk about 6 teams. We're going to talk about basically what I would call the contenders right now. Don't be mad, Charlotte Hornet fans. You're not a contender.
Hold on. You
got bamboozled.
Now. Don't disrespect
Shut
Jordan's
up. Hold on.
like that.
Sorry. Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan as a player. He's Kwame Brown as an owner. Okay?
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Moving on to teams that actually have a chance of doing something this year in basketball. We're going to talk about the Lakers, the Clippers, Denver, Milwaukee, Celtics, and Heat. So basically the last 6 teams remaining.
Yeah.
And let's start with the Lakers. So the free agency opened on Friday. Really opened probably, 2 weeks ago? Because everyone tampers.
Basically.
Everyone tampers. So the Lakers, they kept Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 3 years for $40 million. Real quick, what do you think of that deal?
KCP, man, I mean, he arguably had the best game in the finals. I mean, game 6. Best game in the finals, should I say, besides AD and LeBron out of the role guys, you know. And he had a big game 6. I mean, him and Rondo really did close out that game. I mean, I know he has his shooting struggles. I mean, but I mean, I like the signing. It's not a ridiculous amount of money, but I mean, I'll take it. I think it's a good signing, re-signing.
I feel bad for him, kind of, because in the beginning of the year, he struggled a little bit. People were calling him a bum, but he really played well until the NBA got stopped, and he played good in the restart. And one important thing to look at is 3 years, $40 million. It's not like the Lakers offered him that money at the start of free agency. You know, he was the best 3-and-D wing on the left on the free agency, And they needed a 3-and-D wing. Danny Green had been traded. I love the signing. Another clutch guy. Braun's happy. AD's going to be happy. So let's keep everybody happy. I like the signing. He's not going to change our whole team, but it's a good signing. He's an important piece, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, they also signed Marc Gasol, who apparently had retired to Spain to play basketball, but he's back, apparently. 2 years. I love the signing. He's a good defender. He can shoot the 3 ball. Now we actually have a shooter at the big, and we have a 5 shooting lineup. I can't wait to see what that looks like for Braun and AD. Do you agree, or you have anything you'd like to add?
I mean, did Gasol look good in the restart though? I really don't feel like he looked that good in the last time we seen him.
He did shoot a whopping 18% from 3 in the playoffs. But I'm going to go with what history has told me about Marc Gasol the last 13 years and the season before the restart, But you have valid concerns. I agree with that. That was a tough look for my guy Marc Gasol.
I like Marc Gasol about 3 years ago, but I just feel like, is he better than the combination of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard?
I would say no, but McGee got to, he had to go. So, and I don't want Dwight back because he's a snake. Sorry.
We'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I would say no, he's not better than the combination of the two. And you lose the athleticism like you had told me earlier before we started taping. And I'm a little worried about that. But he did end up having some good defensive numbers at the rim, which I'm happy about.
I would count on his defense being a little bit better just because he'll have AD around him, But, I mean, like you said, he brings shooting, so we do have more shooting on the floor. But that leads us to another guy that they signed who does not have no shooting. And I would love to hear your comments about the Lakers signing Montrezl Harrell.
Genuinely shocked when it happened. He killed his value in the restart. He struggled immensely. I honestly couldn't believe we signed him. There's a part of me that's happy, and there's a part of me that's like, wow. I don't know. This guy, I don't know. I'm not really thrilled about it, but it's better than anything we had off the bench. At least I feel like he's a regular season signing. He's going to be good in the regular season. He's going to average 16 points. And the postseason, we're like, yo, we have this guy named Anthony Davis. So you can just wave your towel. All right.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that he signed with us. I really don't see the big role that he's going to have. When I say big role, if I was him, I would look for a team that I can start in crunch time because honestly, I don't see him playing in crunch time. He's going to be a great 6-man for us. He's going to bring energy off the floor. He's going to bring energy off the bench. So, I get that part, but I don't see him finishing with us. I see us more finishing with Markieff Morris that we just signed than Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, he's going to crunch the floor in crunch time. No pun intended, because he can't shoot. Like you said, I love the energy. He's going to play like the Dwight Howard energy role off the bench. And with him and Caruso, that's a lot of energy to bring off the bench, which I love the idea of. But honestly, I think he signed with the Lakers, one, because he hates the Clippers because of the star treatment Paul George and Kawhi get. Paul George might not deserve that, but that's a whole nother debate. But I think that's why he signed with the Lakers, just to stick to the Clippers. And he's a clutch guy, I believe. And I think people think LeBron's going to get me paid. That's what I think. I don't love it. I'd say overall I'm 60% happy with it, 40% about it.
Laker fans are thrilled about it. A lot of Laker fans don't look at the big picture of it.
It's essentially a 1-year contract. If he balls out, he ain't coming back. He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
And Laker fans just look at the 18 points a game, get excited,
Exactly.
6 man of the year. But how does he fit next to everybody? One thing I'll say is I kind of believe he can fit because AD and LeBron with you, anyone can fit next to them because they're so versatile. I think, is that anything you want to add to that?
Like I said, crunch time, I feel like who's going to be starting for us will be LeBron, Schroeder, Anthony Davis, Marc Gasol, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And if we play a team who goes small ball, I feel like they'll replace Gasol with Markieff Morris and just slide AD to the 5. So I mean, I don't see him in crunch time. I think that's just a big problem to me personally, but he's going to bring energy. He's going to probably win games for us on those nights where we're playing Detroit or Atlanta. Well, probably not Atlanta. Atlanta's probably they signed a couple of guys, or like the Charlotte Hornets, on a back-to-back, and he's going to bring that energy, like you said, with Caruso and with guys off the bench. So he's going to ball. I don't feel like he's going to be a flop. I don't love the signing as much as other people do.
I'm with you 100%. It's going to lessen the load on LeBron, which I'm happy about, because especially with the condensed offseason, I think that was part of the reasoning for the deal. But that's enough about Montrezl Harrell, honestly. I'm tired of talking about him. But you brought up Dennis Schroeder, and this is really the last Laker thing we're going to talk about. I love Dennis Schroeder, the pickup. He's a dog. Chris Paul talks about him. He's a dog. He says, I'm going to miss Rondo's leadership. It sucks to lose Rondo and playoff Rondo. Schroeder balled for Oklahoma City, and he was great against the Rockets. I'm happy we got him. He's better than Rajon Rondo right now.
Yeah, but, I mean, hopefully he gives us those playoff performances like Rajon Rondo. But as far as right now, on a game-to-game basis in the regular season, by far, Dennis Schroeder is the better player.
Absolutely. It's crazy. We have 2 of the 6 men of the year candidates. Well, Harrell won it last year. But now we have 2 of the best 6 men in the NBA, and everyone was questioning our bench last year. Do those questions get answered?
I think so. I mean, he brings athleticism to the squad. I mean, he's going to be fine. I have faith in Schroeder. I love the trade. I mean, I feel like he's going to play well. He's going to do his job. And he's a non-flashy type of guy. I mean, I feel like he just does his job. So, overall, I like what the Lakers and Rob Pelinka did, and then / LeBron, because we know LeBron has his hands in there. But I like what they did. I mean, I like what they did. I'll give them an A. I'll give them an A- for what they did. I think it would have been an A+ if they would have signed Serge Ibaka instead of Montrezl Harrell. But that's just me. I know you loved yourself some Serge Ibaka too.
Yeah, I was sad to see him go to the Clippers, and we're going to get into the Clippers right now, actually. Another great transition by Juan. You're killing it today. I just wanted to ask you real quick, which of the Lakers free agents that left are you going to miss the most? Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, and Rajon Rondo.
I think I would say Rajon Rondo, just because we didn't really see what Avery Bradley could have did in the bubble because he didn't play. But I think the player who's going to have the most impact for a team that you're going to see is Avery Bradley. He's on a Heat team that's full of dogs. They just got themselves a baby pit bull on their squad now. I mean, Avery Bradley, he fits the Heat to a T. Am I wrong?
Perfect Heat culture guy.
Yeah, Pat Riley's going to love him. But we're probably going to miss Rondo more out of all those guys. Rondo, because I think Rondo gave us the most impact in the biggest games. And just listening to Jared Dudley, I mean, shout out to Jared Dudley. I mean, the way that he was talking about how Rondo was in that locker room and how big of a voice he was, it's going to be big. It's going to be big losing Rondo. But I have faith in LeBron, so I think we'll be fine. But I feel like Rondo was the biggest loss.
I agree with you. I'm gonna miss Rondo the most. I'm gonna miss good Rondo the most. Bad Rondo, I'm so happy to get rid of him. But I'm gonna miss Rondo overall, And we don't mean to talk about our our favorite teams more than other teams. It was just a big week in sports for them, Raiders and Lakers were kind of at the forefront of a lot of stuff this week, And moving to the Clippers now, they signed the guy we were just talking about, Serge Ibaka. I love that move for them. He's gonna close out games for them. He's a better fit than Montrez, probably next to Kawhi and PG. He can just spot up, shoot threes, and protect the basket, man. I'm sad to say the Clippers got somebody I really wanted, But they'll mess it up. They're the Clippers. They'll choke, You know what it is.
As long as they still got Paul George, I think
Pandemic Paul George?
I think the rest of the league will be fine. Serge Ibaka, I mean, I can see him wanting to play with Kawhi. You know, he probably really likes playing with Kawhi. But, I mean, the Clippers didn't really do anything much besides that signing. I mean, they really stayed quiet. They didn't really do much to their team. They didn't really make big moves. But, I mean, the Clippers are still going to be there at the end of the day. As much criticism I give Paul George, they're still going to be a top team in the West. They're going to want to beat the Lakers every time they play. So,
are you a fan of the Marcus Morris 4-year, $64 million deal they gave him?
Who else are they going to give their money to?
I don't know. I feel like that's just such a move horizontally. You know, he's a good player, but for $16 million a year, I think that's an overpay. I mean, I don't even think he's a good chemistry guy, you know? He's kind of like a ball stopper. He's a good defender, but you need guys who are more complimentary to Paul George. Maybe they try to trade him for a point guard. So overall, with that, I think that's another thing, you know, like 50-50 on it. I don't really think it's going to help them much, and it's a lot of money to give to a guy like that. So overall, it's an overpay for him?
Yeah, it's an overpay. I don't. Who else were they going to sign that was that big of money?
Yeah, they really couldn't afford to go after too many people, and they lost Montrez. I thought they should have brought back Montrez, honestly. I would have rather had him than Marcus Morris on my team. You know, they don't really have an energy guy now, which I'm kind of worried about. Yeah,
Pat
that's
Beverly
true.
is all heated right now.
Oh, when isn't that guy heated? But they only made one other really notable move. They traded Landry Shamet. I was surprised they traded him. They got Luke Kennard. Overall, I think Luke Kennard's a better player than Shamet. You can do a little bit more. Overall, I give that trade a B. You know, he's Luke Kennard. He's not going to change your team completely, I don't think. But that was a good move on their part, you know.
I think he's probably going to be a better shooter than Shamet. The Clippers were just waiting on Shamet to be something, but I just really don't feel like he ever panned out for them. I mean, they will play him in big spots too. But I'm glad that Luke Kennard's in a winning situation now and get him off of the Detroit Pistons. I like the trade.
Yeah, he's a different shooter than Shaman. He can shoot off the catch, obviously, and he can kind of create for himself, too, which is a lot better than Shaman. He can honestly run some pick and roll. Just an improvement from Shaman. That's what it's all about, just getting improvements, you know? They should have tried to trade for Blake back, too, and they could really retire his number like they said they would.
Well, on to the team who eliminated the Clippers in
historic fashion. Just an extremely tough look for my guy Pandemic P and Steve Ballmer and the Clipper organization.
Well, they lost Grant, right? They lost Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant signed a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Detroit Pistons to just lose 60 games a year. Awesome. They're paying him $1 million for every game they're going to lose.
I mean, I can't believe they let him go, man. I'm surprised they didn't want to sign him. I thought he was a big piece for them.
They signed Paul Millsap to a 1-year, $10 million contract and JaMychal Green a 2-year, $15 million deal. You put them together, they're not as good as Jeremy Grant. You know, they're both like light versions of him at this stage. I honestly believe Jeremy Grant is going to set this team back, losing him. He's the best fit next to Joker. He guarded LeBron, Anthony Davis, Kawhi, Donovan Mitchell, and Paul George. Those were his 5 primary assignments to guard. What other guy did that? You're losing your best defender, a guy who can shoot threes, is athletic. You let him walk? Come on, that's a terrible move. I give that an F. Denver's offseason is an F just for losing him.
Now, just playing devil's advocate here. I mean, maybe they get a piece with trading Porter Jr. That is a possibility. Maybe they want him to be the guy.
That's an interesting idea. Offensively, he's better than Jeremy Grant, or his ceiling will be better than Jeremy Grant. I just worry about him on defense because he's terrible. And Jeremy Grant was a good rim protector. He's explosive. You know, that's the thing. You have Jokic, right? He kind of puts you in a bind defensively because he's not quick, he's not athletic, can't protect the rim. And you had the perfect four for him, no pun intended, and you let him walk? That's what I don't get. Would you say Jeremy Grant was basically the perfect 4 next to Jokic?
They went to the Western Conference Finals with that guy, and he was one of their biggest parts. I mean, like you said, Jeremy Grant had all the big defense assignments of guarding the best player on the floor, you know?
And they're a young team. And you let the young team grow together. You don't lose a key piece now. They didn't break up the team, but you don't want to lose a key piece, arguably your third guy.
And for the most part, they've been doing that.
To
be honest, for the most part, they've been doing that especially with Murray and Jokic.
Yeah, and they've kept Gary Harris. They haven't made a trade. They still have Will Barton. You know, like they have all these good players, and now you're letting one walk finally? I just don't get the logic in that. And, I mean, I brought it up earlier. Paul Millsap 1 year for $10 million. Paul Millsap wasn't playing that much for them in the playoffs. He didn't play in crunch time, really. He had the one big game against the Clippers.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher for them. It's a big head scratcher for them to let Jeremy Grant walk.
They also lost Mason Plumlee to Detroit because Detroit was like, you know what? We really want two guys from your team. Mason Plumlee, come on down. I mean, I don't think that's a huge loss for them, honestly. He's not that great of a player. Body. It is another body. He was solid for them. He kind of had some playmaking in his game. I think they can replace that a lot easier than Jeremy Grant. You know, same thing with Torrey Craig. He's a 3-and-D guy. They got him undrafted. They got plenty of guys waiting in the wings to take his spot. But overall, like the two signings they made, you know, we kind of just talked about this, but Paul Millsap, JaMychal Green, do those guys really help this team? Like, I know JaMychal Green's going to be Jeremy Grant, but is he just a lesser version than Jeremy Grant, you would say?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
And then would you say they've gotten worse this offseason compared to, I would say most teams have gotten better. Like Clippers have gotten better so far, and I think the Lakers have gotten better. And they've gotten worse, you would say?
Yeah, they've gotten worse with losing Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, and honestly, that's all they really did. They drafted R.J. Hampton, but he's not going to play much this year. So honestly, I'd give them a D on their offseason so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not really grading them. I'm just telling you guys what I think. You know, it's just a bad offseason for them.
Move over from the West, and let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and what they did.
This is another team, honestly, that's been really busy this offseason. We're going to get to the Giannis Supermax last, okay? They're just preferencing that right now. They made a huge trade. They traded Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 5 first-round picks, basically. It ended up becoming a 4-team deal with a bunch of teams. So basically, George Hill goes to the Thunder. The Pelicans get Eric Bledsoe, 5 first-round picks, Steven Adams, and the Bucks get Drew Holiday. I can tell you right now, I don't love the trade. I think they gave up way too much for Drew Holiday. No disrespect to Drew Holiday. Juan, what do you think?
I think they gave up way too much. I love Drew Holiday. I love it, but the picks that they give up, I mean, a 2024, a 2025, and a 2027. Bro, that's 6 years from now. You know where you're going to be in 6 years? I know it's a first-round pick and they're not that valuable in the NBA, but hell, you don't know where you're going to be in 6 years.
Go ask the Brooklyn Nets. They did that one time, and it backfired on them so badly with the Paul Pierce and KG trade. You know, that's what I'm talking about. You're going all in for right now. It's scary to me, you know, and there's no protection on the picks. And what would you say Milwaukee's biggest problem is in the playoffs? I'd say their biggest problem is their half-court offense. You know, it's to score in the half-court, and they don't really have anyone who's an elite shot maker or creator. You know, Middleton's a solid guy, and I feel like Drew Holiday's another guy who's good, not great, you know? Giannis isn't the type of guy who's going to run the offense, you know. And they need to revamp their whole system. That's another topic. But for me, if you're going to give up 2 good players, George Hill was really good for them last year. Bledsoe, I know he struggled in the postseason. He was really good for them. You're going to give up those 2 guys and 5 first-round picks? You better get someone who's damn near great in the half court. You can't get just good with all that. And that's what I'm worried about. Drew Holiday, he's a better player, but like we talked about earlier, is he better than George Hill and Eric Bledsoe?
For the amount that they gave up for Drew Holiday, wouldn't you argue that they should have got Chris Paul?
Yeah, that's way more than they would have had to give up for Chris Paul. They probably would have had to give up Bledsoe and a couple first rounds for Chris Paul at this point, you know?
Yeah, I just think Chris Paul was a better option than Drew Holiday. I love Drew Holiday, but that's way too much for him. Way too much. Chris Paul is just a way better option right now for them, and he brings that shot making that they're missing.
And he brings a leadership component they don't really have. I wouldn't say Giannis is a great leader. Chris Paul is a great leader. We saw what he did with the Thunder. They had no chance to make the playoffs before 0.6, whatever it was. And he had them not at the 8 seed, not the 7. He had them at the 6 seed comfortably in the playoffs. And they were playing good.
I mean, not to mention he's hungry than ever to win a ring. Wouldn't you think that he'll be way more motivated with the Milwaukee Bucks than the Phoenix Suns?
Milwaukee didn't do anything else of note in the free agency period. They signed Bobby Portis. I think that's actually a nice piece for them. He's a good player. He can score. He's not going to move the needle towards a championship for them. DJ Augustine, they've signed to replace George Hill. I think that's going to help them a lot. But again, it's not a crazy great move. And they signed Torrey Craig, a 3-and-D guy. So they didn't really make a huge splash other than this trade, and I don't think it was a great trade.
I feel like it would have been better with the Bogdanovich trade or the what they do.
Well, so it's a nightmare. They had a trade for him, but no one talked to them about playing Milwaukee. And then there was a report that they were tampering, and this was all a ploy to get out of the tampering. And then he just ended up signing with the Hawks. And the Kings haven't matched the offer. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, at the time of recording this, they still have time to match it. Just a nightmare. And the trade for him was just Dante DiVincenzo. I would have loved that move a lot more than the Drew Holiday, but that move fell through, and it's kind of a weird look for them.
Yeah, it is a weird look because I would have liked that. I would have liked that move that they did. And with them just getting Drew Holiday, like you said, it's not enough. It's not enough with the signings that they had with Bobby Portis and Tony Craig. All those guys are just role players. I mean,
is it enough if Giannis agrees to the Supermax for 5 years, $250 million?
If that was the case, but we don't know that. That's your plan to keep Giannis like, hey, we signed Drew Holiday. We gave up first round picks from 6 years from now.
Giannis, I know you're dying to play with Bobby Portis and get socked in the face at practice. Will you resign?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
If it is the case where he does sign, I'll take back what I said. Good job. That's the key, is getting Giannis to sign the Supermax. Me and you don't have inside sources at the Bucks or who know Giannis, but just in a vacuum, I don't like the trade. If it nets them Giannis long term, great trade. Because that's what the thing about trades in today's NBA. It's not always about the people you're trading for. It's about the people who you're going to get to keep because of the people you traded for.
Yeah. If like you said, if it keeps them in Milwaukee, you do whatever you got to do. You keep Giannis.
Remind me, who did the Bucks lose to in the playoffs?
That will be the Miami Heat.
The Heat have had a quiet offseason so far because we know it's about 2021. How long have we been hearing that one? A year or two now about 2021 free agency. Let's keep the books open.
Yeah, definitely. But Giannis and whoever they can get their hands on, they still have a lot of trade pieces.
Oh, absolutely. And we teased this earlier. Avery Bradley signed with them. We've already talked about. That's a great signing for them. Fits the Heat culture. In every deal they made, it's basically a one-year deal because they can get out of it if they want to for next year to keep the cap space open. So they got Goran Dragic back on a 2-year, $37 million contract. Signing. I love the signing of Dragic. It sucked what happened to him in the finals. You get hurt in game 1, and he wasn't healthy. He wasn't Goran Dragic. He destroyed the Celtics. And they also brought back Myers Leonard on a 2-year, $20 million team option. So it's 1 year for $10 million. That's whatever. It's just a body to throw. He can shoot. Not a big signing.
I like the Mo Harkless signing too.
Another 3-and-D guy. That's what the league's turning into. It's just about how many 3-and-D guys you can honestly collect. And they did sign big Udonis Haslem for one more year. Is this jersey going to be retired when he's all done with the Heat?
No, they're too busy retiring 23 for Michael Jordan.
Well, he wears 40, so I think no, I don't know why they did that, but Honestly, do you think he'll get his jersey retired?
I feel like he deserves it, man. He's an OG. He's an OG for the Heat.
Especially with an organization like the Heat that don't have like a great history of players. Throw his jersey up there. He's been good for you for 20 years. He's been sacrificing a lot. He could have been retired with his kids and stuff, but he wants to be on the Heat and build that culture up, and he's a big part of it. This is the most anyone's talked about Udonis Haslam in 5 years, I'm going to guess.
I mean,
but I'm just giving him props.
He gets into the player's ass, dude. Like, you can see him on the bench yelling at dudes, motivating guys. Like, he's a coach out there. He's the second extension of Spoelstra out there.
Absolutely. I think he's going to have a career in coaching when this is all said and done, probably with the Heat. And I think their offseason was probably more about the losses than the re-signings. They lost Jay Crowder and Derek Jones and Solomon Hill, but I would say the first two guys are a bigger part of their team.
Yeah,
from last year that went to the finals. Sorry, that went to the finals.
Jay Crowder is definitely a big loss. He made some very big shots in the bubble. He
balled for them, and especially against Boston. He's a tough, tenacious defender. He's valuable in today's NBA. Any team would want Jay Crowder. And Derek Jones, he's a young, athletic wing. He can do a lot of different things. That departure is not going to hurt the Heat, but I would like him on my team. He's a solid player.
Yeah, Derek Jones, he's solid. He needs another opportunity. I'm kind of glad that he got out of Miami. See what he does with the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, Portland's always looking for new guys. I mean, they're over there signing Carmelo Anthony, hoping that he's gonna give him something. But
there's 2 Melos in the league
officially.
It's a whole new ball game. Do you think they've done enough to get back to the finals? You still think this team can compete for a championship?
Yeah, as long as they keep their core with Butler, Dragic, and Bam, I think they'll be fine.
I agree too. I agree with that. I don't think they're the front runner for the championship, but I think they're a threat.
Yeah, they're a threat. They're a threat, definitely. I think they're only one of their big problems I'm looking at right now. I don't know how they match up with the Nets.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The Nets are going to be a tough matchup for anyone, but there's so much health dependency on that and first-year head coach. I'm not really sure what to think of them, And honestly, they matched up great with the Celtics, who we're talking about next, and this is the last free agency stuff we're going to get into today. The Celtics had a quiet offseason. Honestly, they signed Jeff Teague, Tristan Thompson. Woof. Tristan Thompson, right? Yeah, I know. And they re-signed Jason Tatum to a 5-year, $195 million contract. I like the move. It's a little scary to give a guy $200 million who's had one good season, one bad season. But I'm pretty confident. Tatum's going to be worth it. Is there any doubt in your mind?
No doubt in my mind, especially with the combination of him and Jaylen Brown. I feel like him and Jaylen Brown complement each other pretty well. I've had like a seesaw kind of thought on Jason Tatum. He's hot, he's cold. I do like what he's done in the playoffs though, with the aftermath of it. I do like the end result from him. I feel like it's gonna be worth it. And he's a great face of the franchise type of guy for the Celtics. He works hard. He's a big shot maker. He's gonna be good. He's only gonna get better.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was an MVP candidate in the next couple years, one of the years. I don't think he's the type of guy to win an MVP, but to be in the conversation, I think he is one of those type of guys. And Tristan Thompson, it's not a big signing. It's a good backup big man. Maybe he starts. They didn't really have a lot of cap space.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Tristan Thompson was one of those guys last season that were, threatening to be bought out and on the market. So he's another body. To be honest, who plays? Does Tristan Thompson play or does Theis play?
I like Theis more than Tristan Thompson at this point. Theis can shoot a little bit. He's tough-nosed. Boston has shown that they don't really care about the centers they have. They just want serviceable big guys. Ever since Al Horford left, they haven't really got anyone as good as him. And this is what I was going to bring up really quick because there's not really much to talk about with them. But do you think it's kind of concerning that they've lost 3 stars in 3 years? Kyrie and Horford and now Gordon Hayward? Is that Danny Ainge?
I mean, Horford worked out for them. I would say. I think Horford put in more value to that team more than Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is just bad luck, though. I mean, Gordon Hayward with that injury, that's just unlucky. That's just unlucky, man, because he was a great player in Utah, and the guy that they were signing, he was good. He was good, man. He was solid. He played great defense. He was a good shot maker. It's just bad luck with the whole leg injury, and even during the playoffs. I mean, he doesn't really play that much, and when he and it feels like when he does start playing good and he does start showing signs, something happens. He gets hurt or he just falls off with his play.
I agree with that. It's just, well, first with Hayward, it sucks. He broke his foot, or he broke his ankle the first 10 minutes of the season. It just derailed it. It was honestly a 2-year injury. You couldn't base him off last year. This year he had signs of, being that guy. But the reason I brought this up was just because I think it's just weird because, Horford opted out and they were talking about bringing him back, and then it just never happen. And now Hayward opted out and they were talking about signing and trading him to Indiana, and he just left. I just think it's weird, Danny Ainge, there's been a lot of backlash to him about the way he treated Isaiah Thomas. Now you got all these stars leaving, and part of being a good NBA general manager is attracting stars. And it's just a weird look for me. I just think it's weird the way it's played out for them.
Yeah, he's definitely cutthroat. Definitely cutthroat.
And that's good and bad, because in the NBA today especially, it's about the relationships you can form with the stars, I don't think Danny Ainge could attract some of the younger guys just the way he's done business, and I'm not saying he's wrong for doing that. I'm just saying that's something to think about.
And they lose another big body, and it's cancer. So...
yeah, I don't think they're going to miss that with Thompson. But yeah, Cantor wasn't bad for them last year. He's going back to Portland where he shined that 1 year. Overall, I wouldn't say they had a good offseason. They didn't have a bad one. Getting Tatum to sign the deal was the big thing, and they did that well. So overall, not too bad of an offseason for them. Losing Hayward, would you say it really hurts them with all the wings they have?
No, it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them at all. I know they're glad to get that contract out of there.
Oh, absolutely. It's just weird that they didn't get anything back. And if you look at the contracts on their team, it's either really big or really small. And Marcus Smart's the only guy who's making a decent amount of money. So that's what makes it kind of hard to do trades with Boston. And I know they don't want to get rid of Marcus Smart. I wouldn't want to get rid of him either. He's a hell of a player. And the last thing I have to ask you about Boston's offseason is what's the 1 out of 10 hot level seed of Brad Stevens right now? I would say it's a 6.
I feel like that's a little bit too high. I wouldn't say a 6. I would say maybe a 4.
I feel like his reputation kind of has outperformed what he's actually done in a certain degree. Because everyone's like, this guy's a great young coach. He's going to be the next thing. But he hasn't won anything. I know LeBron lived in the East and it made life hell for him. But I want to see him actually get to the finals. I want to see them take the next step. Let me refrain. I don't want to see them take the next step because I hate the Celtics. I'm a Laker fan. But I'm just saying, being unbiased, they got to make the step one of these next couple years.
They should have made the finals in the bubble. They should have. With Milwaukee out and them beating Toronto, no LeBron in the East, they should have made the finals. I think the bubble was their shot to do it. Because the first 2 years ago against LeBron, it's LeBron. You have an excuse. And then the second year was with Kyrie. Kyrie kind of, cancered the locker room. He wasn't a good fit. It is what it is. But they reloaded with Kemba Walker last year. Jason Tatum still played good. Jaylen Brown. Guys were getting their rhythm. Guys were playing good. They should have made it last year. I know the Heat were the Cinderella team and they were on fire and all this and that, but Boston had more talent than the Heat. Would you agree?
It's close, but I would go with, yeah, they had more talent than the Heat. I think the Heat were better coached and had more dog in them than Boston. I kind of want to see some more dogs on Boston. I know Marcus Smart's a dog. Tatum and Brown sometimes play a little too cool for me. I want to see more fights instead of Brown and Tatum.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they'll be in the mix. They'll be fine. They're gonna be good. We're all right, man. Let's wrap it up. You want to call it a podcast?
I think it was a good first one, honestly. It's been a while. We had to get the rust off. We're playing our first game in a while. We had to get a feel
first
for
game
it. Started off
jitters
a
out
little
here.
rough. Yeah, I had butterflies.
It feels good though, man. It feels good. With that said, let's go ahead and send you guys out. Would like to thank you guys if you guys made it this far. Max, you got any last words?
Appreciate you guys for making it this far, and if you didn't, come on. We're great. We're amazing. You love us. Just admit it. But thank you guys for being with us. Juan, I appreciate you. And we'll be back soon. Real soon, I believe.
Soon. We're going to try to get some picks out for you guys, talk a little bit more NFL. But I love doing this, man. Had a good time. All right, peace.
All right, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.